Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm John Bernard. This is Nick. We are the K-Roos brothers giving you the world news around combat sports. Nick, it's been a pretty eventful couple of days. A lot of things being announced. We've got the Saudi Arabia fight night happening this week and UFC Sydney is next week.
Well, there's a lot happening. And I want to also point out not only UFC, but the PFL, Bellator, Usman versus
in
Paul
Dubai.
Hughes.
That got a lot of news attention.
I felt like for a non-UFC event, it was the most attention I've seen for a combat sports event. I know Khabib and Islam were in the corner.
Mhm.
Paul Hughes obviously was talking about Conor McGregor, so people were bringing it up, McGregor versus Khabib 2.0. But the fight looked like it lived up to the hype, looked like it was a good fight. I'm disappointed I didn't see the Irishman win for the second time, but secretly I probably did want Usman to win because I want him to come to the UFC undefeated.
PFL will 100% be putting a rematch on with that. It was the most eyes I think we've seen in a long time. Khabib even got on the mic after. They're talking about a rematch. Paul Hughes surprised a lot of people. He did an interview with Ariel Helwani. So I think you're going to see more of him. People were calling for both of them to be signed to the UFC. So I keep an eye on the Magomedovs and Paul Hughes. I can't wait to see what they do
next. The thing is, it's like with a lot of close fights, if the result didn't go the way you want as a fan, people just instantly call it a robbery.
But
Was it a robbery?
I feel like a lot of people called it out as a robbery and had Paul Hughes winning. It's not just like one or two fans. It was like spinning back fist, full send MMA.
Again,
You
people
know what
that
I mean?
might not like Dagestani. I don't know, there's a lot of Dagestani bias going on out there, which I'm not a fan of.
Okay. Well, let's get straight into the show with the MMA hot take of the week. This week's hot take is the Saudi Arabia fight night is better than the UFC 312 pay-per-view in Sydney.
I think that's not a hot take. I think that's correct. The UFC card in Sydney is very disappointing. It's very main event heavy. When you look at the fight night in Saudi Arabia, they got a very entertaining heavyweight fight, Pavlovich versus Rosenstrike. Adesanya versus Imavov, another good, very important middleweight fight. Shah the Bullet versus MVP, a very significant two superstars getting in the middle of the ring, getting in the middle of the
And just going to strike it out. It's going to be entertaining. Yeah.
They've got bigger names on the card, and they're pretty much similar. Like, I understand the middleweight fight in UFC Sydney is bigger because it's the title fight, but Adesanya is probably a bigger name than Strickland and DDP. It just is what it is.
The reason why I like the Australian card is we're going to get to see Aussies make a name for themselves. There's a lot of Australians on the card, but as a worldwide audience, it is a bit disappointing of a card. And they promise so much. Every Sydney card, we're starting to make, what's the ideal card? You got Usman on versus JDM. You got Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. What could be on there? And then we get what we get with the co-main event being the female fights with Weili Zhang. You got a rematch, a fight that we've already seen headlining. And again, people were asking potentially for a Khamzat fight instead of this fight as well. So
you know what the worst part is? In attendance at UFC Sydney will be Alex Pereira, Ilia Topuria,
Khamzat Chimaev.
and Khamzat Chimaev. They're three main event superstars that'll be watching. They've actually bothered enough to come down, make the trip to Australia, but not fight. And the reason they're not fighting is the reason everyone's been bringing up lately: the weight cutting, the short turnaround after you weigh in, trying to reload yourself for the fight, and the terrible tax that Australia does. If you're a fighter in Australia, you're going to get taxed heavily if you're coming from overseas.
What the UFC needs to do, because obviously Saudi Arabia, there's no tax, and they're getting paid overs. If you're Israel Adesanya, you're not fighting on a fight night unless you're getting millions of dollars to fight on a fight night in Saudi Arabia. So they got money to throw around, and it's untaxed. The reason why Australia's card's so disappointing is we haven't drawn the superstars here. No one wants to fight here because of that 47% tax on fighters. So the answer is the government needs to work with the UFC in not having a tax on the fighters. So the next Sydney card or the next Perth card, we actually have a card that people want to attend, want to buy tickets to, and is a talk of the world, really.
Islam on his podcast, on Demetrius Johnson's podcast, said he would never fight in Australia again. And Demetrius Johnson reiterated the same thing. He said, I wouldn't fight in Australia. It's just not worth it.
Just the travel time.
The travel time, the time to recover after cutting weight, and then the shit pay. Like, why would you do that to yourself? There's so many other places to fight. Why would I fight there?
It's something the UFC has to address if they're going to continue to have Australian events here. But I think without a doubt, this UFC Saudi fight night is going to be a much better, more entertaining card than UFC 312.
From what I read online, Twitter might be feeding me some fake rumors, but from what I read, it said that Israel Adesanya was getting paid better for this fight night than his title fight.
Yeah, well.
So that just gives you an idea of what these Saudis are prepared to pay.
Saudi Princess.
Better than title fights.
Turki Al-Sheikh, he knows what he's doing. Now, speaking of UFC 312, it was announced today that in Sean Strickland's corner for UFC Sydney will be Alex Pereira. He will be cornering him against Dricus du Plessis. Now, he's cornered him before in the UFC, but since Alex Pereira is going to be here in Sydney, Australia, he's going to be cornering for this fight. Does this give Strickland the advantage? He's had him in his corner before. What do you think of Pereira being in his corner?
I mean, all I've heard Alex Pereira say is Sharma. So I don't know what advice he can provide Sean Strickland. What's he going to tell him? Push forward, maybe go for a takedown?
Yeah.
Like usually,
You've got a champion in your corner. You've got the light heavyweight champion in your corner, giving you pointers. They obviously train together very well. They're friends outside the octagon. They faced each other, so they have a really good relationship. Alex Pereira could just provide insight that not a lot of other people can as a champion, and maybe a path to beating and definitively beating Dricus du Plessis.
Is Cruz going to be in the corner with him to translate the messages that he's trying to send over?
Polina? I don't know. Yeah, you're probably going to need a translator
because
in that
I'm just saying, can Sean Strickland speak Portuguese?
No, definitely
I
not.
don't think he sounds
He
like
speaks native English.
American badass, strictly English only, American stereotype. So I don't know if he can speak Portuguese and understand the messages that Pereira is going to be sending him in the cage.
I mean, you can really understand what he's saying when he's saying Sharma, no Sharma, come forward. I don't know. Look, I think it's a positive for Sean Strickland. Maybe it's just a way to bring around hype for this event as well. But ultimately, if it's anything like the last fight with Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis, you sure Dricus du Plessis' face after. Sean Strickland just needs to be able to put the pressure on a little bit more, and having someone in his corner telling him what to do, telling him how to win a championship fight might be the difference. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just trying to think, though, from DDP's perspective, is this Pereira trying to send a message to DDP like, hey, I'm against you, I don't like you, and in any potential fight, I will beat you. Like, I'm going to get the guy who I knocked out cold, Sean Strickland. I'm going to try and help him beat you.
I just think it's training partners being there for each other. It's like how, Aljamain Sterling is there for Merab and the other way around. It's just the same. These guys train together. He wants to be in his corner. I just think it's as simple as that.
Does DDP move up to fight Alex Pereira if he beats Sean Strickland? Because I've had that kind of war of words before where Pereira even hinted at coming back down to middleweight, but does DDP move up?
DDP, I feel like, hasn't conquered his division enough. And, yes, he's had 2 title defenses, but I just feel like he hasn't done enough in his division to start talking about. If someone wants to come up and face him, like we'll get into Islam calling him out, but I don't think he's in a position to move up. He's still in that kind of conversation as, is he the best that, middleweight has to offer?
Like if he beats Strickland and then potentially beats Khamzat, then yeah, you can. Because if you beat Khamzat, you can do whatever you want. But I don't see him beating Khamzat. And I don't see him beating Sean Strickland either.
Well, Conor McGregor was making headlines in Philly this week, and he's becoming one of the best promoters in MMA. He walked out to a packed Philly crowd at the Wells Fargo Arena. But Conor McGregor then teased that he'll fight bare knuckle eventually. He just saw Eddie Alvarez get knocked out, someone that he's beaten before. Will we see Conor McGregor fight bare knuckle anytime soon?
Yes, you will, because one, he's part of the promotion. Probably is part of his ownership.
He owns a significant stake in bare
knuckle.
Part
of his ownership, stake is that he has to have a fight. Whether he wanted to fight Eddie Alvarez, but Eddie Alvarez got knocked out by that Jeremy Stevens. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the post-fight, Conor McGregor went straight up to him, was bad-mouthing him,
immediate face-off. That was intense.
So it looked like he was trying to set up a fight with Jeremy Stevens. And all I take away from this is Conor McGregor will never fight in the UFC again. Whether he wants to fight Logan Paul or Jake Paul in boxing, you saw that on the inauguration bus. They're teasing a fight there. Now he's teasing a fight in bare knuckle. There's too much that he's trying to play. There's too much he's trying to train for. UFC's dead.
Well, he spoke to our boy, the Schmo, and he basically said, I'm very interested in this influencer fighting. He says, for the amount of effort and the money that's involved, I'm very interested in fighting your Logan Paul, Jake Paul, your KSIs, because I'll smack him around. It's a little side job for him. And he told them that to their face. So when you have to maybe face a Michael Chandler or an actual contender in the division in the UFC, but you could earn abnormal amounts of money facing influencers or fighting bare knuckle, why wouldn't you do it? So I feel like it's going to be very difficult for the UFC to convince him to come back when you have all these other options, because people still want to see him. He, I think, individually was a big part of bare knuckle selling out Wells Fargo Arena in Philadelphia. This guy can promote fights. People still want to see Conor McGregor. Philly loved Conor, and he's going to sell out his next fight, no matter who it is against, whatever promotion it is, whether it's a boxing match, a bare knuckle match. People want to see Conor McGregor, so really it's all up to him and how much money he wants to make.
The only drawback to maybe fighting in bare knuckle is Eddie Alvarez broke his jaw.
That was a gruesome injury. Did you saw the X-ray that come out? His jaw's hanging off the left side of his face.
So, like, if you're Conor McGregor and you're going to think about getting out of retirement, essentially, into a boxing promotion or an MMA promotion, I don't think bare knuckle's right for you, because a broken jaw's not going to do well for your acting career. It's not going to do well for a lot of the promotions you got to do.
Put some 16-ounce gloves on, put some padding on that, and just fight boxing. Whack KSI, slap around Jake Paul for us. I think it'll be entertaining to watch. I think that's Conor McGregor's next move.
Yeah, if I'm a betting man, he's going for an influencer. Maybe in India, whether the billionaire wants to front up the money for him.
Apparently,
that seems likely.
You know, Logan Paul and Jake Paul and the powers that be at TKO didn't want that to happen. But speaking of influencer boxing, it was just announced today. Logan Paul versus Jake Paul will take place March 27th. That's right around the corner. They said this is a decade in the making. Are people going to buy Jake Paul versus Logan Paul?
Yes, because they both draw numbers. They both have a massive following. They're both two of the biggest influencer boxers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It feels like it's like a bit rushed. I feel like they would have had a bigger build up to this. I know WrestleMania for Logan Paul's right after that as well. So is that going to impact the way he trains? And then the other question is, how hard will they actually go against each other?
Exactly. Is this going to be a light sparring session? Is someone actually going to get knocked out? I mean, if I was fighting you, Nick, we're brothers. I don't think I could knock you out. Like, in my heart, I don't know. Like, maybe we just agree to put on a bit of a show and maybe you take a dive. That could definitely take place. I don't know. But the reason why they're doing this is because you saw the success of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Now, when you look at the numbers, okay, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, it was a 16-minute match. Tyson reportedly made $20 million from this, okay, and Jake Paul walked away with $40 million. So you're talking crazy amounts of money. HBO Max sees what Netflix are doing. They're going to put this show on. You're talking about streaming numbers and amount of viewers. They sold out a stadium, AT&T Stadium, 72,000 people. It was streamed at peak to 60 million people worldwide.
And then you saw, not long after the event, at the inauguration, Jake Paul's got Mike Tyson up on his shoulders. They're celebrating. They look like they were in cahoots and they were just stealing people's money.
So, again, there's just crazy amounts of money to be in social media boxing. These two are at the peak of their social media heights. They're going to cash in. People are going to watch it. It's a smart move from HBO. I'm going to tune into it. I want to be there. I want to go and watch it. We didn't get to go to Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. I want to go to Jake Paul versus Logan Paul. There's going to be massive media attention on it. They're going to push the boundaries when it comes to social media and selling this fight. Massive money to be made.
And they've kind of teased it already. Like, you've seen sometimes on
clips
clips where they're like, oh, I'm a better boxer than you, or I would have beaten you in this fight. Or I think Jake Paul's even said, Mayweather did beat you, Logan. Okay. They've had those kind of back and forth. They know what they're doing. They're smart promoters. They're smart influencers.
Quick prediction, who wins? I think, obviously, no one's going to get knocked out. It goes to decision, but who wins?
Jake Paul is the boxer.
Jake Paul's a better boxer.
It's more important for his career for him to win that fight.
He goes in as favourite. He goes in as $1.50 favourite.
If you're Logan Paul and you truly love your brother,
yeah,
you're not ending his boxing career by beating him in a boxing fight.
And you've already taken an L. You've lost the KSI. I mean, you beat Dylan Dennis, but that was kind of an embarrassment of a match.
You lost to Floyd Mayweather. You're the loser in the boxing arena.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You're great in the WWE arena. You're an unbelievable athlete, but leave boxing to Jake Paul. Exactly, that's what you're saying.
Exactly. So, yeah. But that brings me to the next point of Volk versus Topuria 2. It has been rumored for a while now that it would happen in Miami, but Bo Nickel on his podcast said it's all but done. I know for a fact Volk versus Topuria 2 is going to be happening in Miami, and he wants to get on that card as well.
Well, everyone on Twitter, I can tell you what Twitter's been saying, and everyone in the MMA atmosphere, they've been saying they don't want to see Volk get done like this again. They're not prepared mentally to see Volk get potentially KO'd again, and I don't think I would be ready for that. Volk is still at GOAT status. People see Volk as a legend right now, and to go straight back into the deep end with Ilia Topuria, people are just worried that it's just going to end the exact same way it ended last time with Ilia Topuria, and that's with Volk getting knocked out. No one wants to see that. And I just can't see it going any other way. Maybe it happens later, but I don't want to see Volk get knocked out.
With this fight pretty much announced, what is your prediction? Your official early prediction, Volk versus Topuria 2, who wins?
Well, Volk's management said this is the fight that's going to be made. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but Bo Nickel said it's done. I'm pretty sure it's 100% done. I have to go with Ilia Topuria. The only thing is I think Volk comes more prepared, knows not to get backed into the corner, backed into the cage, plays into his range and keeps his distance, but ultimately, I think it's going to be the same thing, and Ilia Topuria just maybe gets it done in the third or fourth round and gets it done later. He's just far too skilled on the ground. He's wrestling, and he's the best striker in the UFC right now.
I think definitely I'm going Topuria here as well, just because I don't see where Volkanovski is better than him now, and because he doesn't have the championship advantage. If it does go to a decision, people are going to likely lean to Topuria. Topuria, if he doesn't knock him out, he can wrestle him. He can take him down.
It's a huge
There's so much more to do.
It's a huge gamble for Volk.
No, he's cashing in. He
knows.
I
know. It's a title fight, and you get your championship money. But where do you go with a loss from here?
You can go up. You can go up in weight. You can go for a BMF fight. He does have the status and the name to do whatever he wants. Losing to Topuria, you don't really lose that much as well.
Going into this fight, you don't know. All the pressure is on Ilia. You've already won before. You've got to back it up and do it again. Volk's coming in as the underdog. You know what I mean? All the pressure goes on to Ilya, and whether you can knock him out or get this win again, Volk's going to be better than he was last time for sure. Going in, you understand the fighter, you watch the tape, you see where you can improve. But ultimately, like I said, I think Ilya Topuria is just too young, too hungry, too skilled.
If this fight is happening in April, though, which is pretty soon,
April, Miami.
I thought they were going to Spain. Dana White said, yep, UFC Spain's going to be happening in 2025.
Well, think
about it.
Does
this mean that Spain's not on the cards for 2025?
No, I think it is because it's an early fight for Ilya Topuria, April. That means he has the rest of the year to fight at a potential Spain card, which could be September, October.
Yeah, but you want to go to Spain
and you get other Spanish
summer.
athletes on there. Like, I think Spain would be great. They're going to sell out a stadium regardless if Ilya's on the card.
The latest they can do Spain is August, when you really think about it, because you're
that's plenty for turnaround time from April to August.
4 months. Really? That's pretty.
Like, it depends how quickly it gets it done, let's be honest.
Look,
and how
if
much
it gets
damage
it down
he takes.
1 or 2, I think you can go, okay, Topuria versus Lopez in Spain in August, late August maybe, still summer, but they're going to be pushing it. I think Dana White just lied to us again. Spain is not happening.
Well, fights that have already been confirmed outside of UFC 314 in Miami is UFC 313. We've seen Alex Pereira being announced against Magomed Ankalaev, but also that's been announced is Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje. Now, Dan Hooker was on Ariel Helwani recently, and they asked, why is this a 5-round fight? It should be a 3-round. You guys are contenders. It's not a championship fight. And he honestly just answered, I think the UFC just want to see one of us die. And that's a bit scary because we've seen what happened to Justin Gaethje in his last fight. He's taken a long time off. We're talking over a year off since being knocked out, and you have to. When you get knocked out like that, it can take, years off your career, years off your life. So he's taken the correct amount of time off. He's itching to get back in. But are we going to see someone die?
I don't know. The way they fight, their fighting styles. I mean, you've seen Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier, fireworks. You've seen Justin Gaethje versus Poirier, Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. Every single fight that Justin Gaethje's involved in, it's going to be very exciting.
Well, who do you think dies?
I think Dan Hooker dies because I don't think he's at the same level of Justin Gaethje. I think Justin Gaethje is a bit hungrier. And even if you ask people like Islam Makhachev, who's talked about his next opponent, he said he wants to fight Justin Gaethje. And I think that's him saying, I think Justin Gaethje wins his next fight and then he goes for the title.
And his probably skill level is just a bit above his. I think a bit better of a striker than Dan Hooker is. But Dan Hooker coming off a very impressive win against Mateus Gamrot. That was his return fight. He's finally got a bout announced. The thing is, though, we've seen Dan Hooker almost die in the octagon, and that was against Dustin Poirier. That fight was just an absolute mess, striking fest, and that's what I think this fight is going to be, and it's going to go 5 rounds, probably to the championship rounds, and someone's going to go down. Very interesting fight. I'm leaning towards Justin Gaethje, who has had a lot of time off and ready to go. It's like a thoroughbred horse that's ready to go and had his time off for a big race. It's Justin Gaethje ready to put himself back out on the map.
It is hard to tell what Max Holloway's damage did to him. Like, you don't know. We don't know till he's back in the octagon. But from what I've heard, Justin Gaethje, frat boy.
He's ready to go.
Short memory. He probably doesn't remember getting knocked out. He's a fighter. He knows what to do. It's not like it's the first time he's ever lost either. He's lost to some big names. He's lost some other fights. I expect him to come back in and win. But speaking of someone else that he's fought, Dustin Poirier. He's teasing Fight News again. I know it's not the first time that he's done this.
This bloke's been teasing Fight News for about 6 months.
Exactly. Every time.
Over his Twitter, Fight News coming soon. Stay ready. The diamond.
But this one is that he's not going to be fighting in Miami. He said the rumors of me fighting at UFC 14 in Miami are not true.
I would have liked him to fight Miami.
Exactly.
He's got a good record. The crowd gets around him there. You know what I mean? He kind of trains out of Florida as well.
But he said Fight News will be coming soon, which he's said for the last 6 months. So when will that actually be coming? And who will it be? Who will he be fighting?
Well, there's been multiple rumors circulating online. Everyone is alluding to Max Holloway being his final fight, which would be a fitting opponent. Yeah. Max Holloway on the run that he's been on to end Dustin Poirier's career in the final fight. It would be a great way to go out. But that hasn't been 100% confirmed yet. And shout out to our boy MMA Guru, who put out on Twitter, I wouldn't be surprised if they do announce Dustin Poirier versus Paddy Pimblett in Saudi Arabia. They're going to announce that fight for a UFC pay-per-view down the line. I don't know. So he's saying the rumor is Dustin Poirier versus Paddy Pimblett again, which I think is a great fight for both people, particularly Paddy Pimblett. I think if Paddy Pimblett beats another UFC over 30 legend, how many more can you know?
The only issue is
you have to be legit if you beat Dustin Poirier.
The only issue is with that. Paddy Pimblett is an upcoming contender. He needs a win against someone obviously higher ranked than him.
He's a ranked fighter.
But if Poirier wins that, really, what's that do for
why
him?
retire?
Like, why retire? You've just beat a contender.
Yeah.
You're straight back into the top 5. Another fight against a top contender. You get another title fight, really. So it's like, I'd rather him verse someone that...
A Max Holloway, a kind of legend-making fight.
Go out on your sword. Go out on an exciting fight. Whether maybe it's a Volkanovski, whether it's someone like Max Holloway, they need a more exciting fight for him to go out on, not end someone's career that's coming up, because if Paddy Pimblett loses that, it's pretty hard for him to come up.
Yeah, but you know what? Paddy Pimblett wants to take that fight. It's someone above him in the rankings. It's someone that isn't a Bobby Green, isn't a Jared Gordon. It's a contender, and you need that to ascend.
He was supposed to fight someone like Moicano. He's supposed to fight someone, maybe Benoit Saint-Denis, someone that's still in the rankings, get a W under his belt. But I don't know anymore. I'm
telling you, if Poirier beats Paddy Pimblett, he doesn't retire. He thinks, I got one more in me. I want to go again.
That's what I'm saying. So
I don't think it would be a retirement fight. He would get that itch to say, I can still go at a high level if he beats Paddy Pimblett.
That's why I don't think they'll make that fight, because the UFC, I think they want him to
Listen,
retire.
MMA Guru and the guys from Jerusalem, they have good mail.
Jerusalem?
They have unbelievable. He knows someone on the inside at UFC, and if he's saying that, it throws around some weight. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do announce Paddy Pimblett versus...
I'll be happy for it. I think it's a great fight.
It's a great fight. It's a fight that, you know, they have their fan bases. Yes, people were offside with Paddy Pimblett. I enjoy Paddy fighting. He sells fights. Dustin Poirier's got a fan base. Paddy's got a fan base. I wonder where it happens. You know, if it's going to be a pay-per-view down
Vegas,
3 months from now, maybe Vegas, maybe International Fight Week. But Paddy Pimblett needs to fight soon. He hasn't fought in a while.
Well, Islam wants to fight.
Paddy Pimblett hasn't fought since Manchester.
Islam wants to fight on International Fight Week. That's a quick turnaround for him, which is very surprising as well.
Well, because he won in the first round.
Yeah, but still, going through training camps isn't easy.
Yeah.
And I know Ankalaev is fighting in Ramadan. So these guys, as much criticism as they cop, they want to be active. They want to fight. They got to put some respect on these Dagestanis.
Well, Islam's been doing media back in Russia, back in Dagestan, and he was asked about a potential fight against Dricus du Plessis. Islam is adamant that before he retires, he wants to get a double champ, right? Whether that's going up and facing Bilal. And he said, I believe in myself to go up against DDP and win. He said, now, I'm not guaranteeing I finish Dricus du Plessis, but I believe I could be the middleweight champion. Do you think Islam can pack on the kilos and fight Dricus du Plessis and win a champion?
I think he has the skills and the size to do so. But the only problem is it's a massive jump. Like DDP said it himself, Islam's a big lightweight. DDP said himself, he's a big middleweight.
Yeah.
So not only is
there's a difference.
He's got to put on 30 pounds just to make the cut to fight at middleweight. DDP's dropping that weight to get to middleweight. So it's a very big difference.
Yeah.
There's a big size advantage still as well.
DDP was very confident when asked about it. He said, I'll overpower him. Simple as that. It's a big jump, and it would be an easy payday for him. People would pay to watch it. A big South African going up a Dagestani, not weight bullying.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested in that fight. I think Islam has so many options right now. Yes, he's talking about Justin Gaethje. I think the next move for Islam is going straight up and fighting at welterweight. Let's test you out. See if you can get that double belt. I don't care if it's against Bilal Muhammad. Just do it. We want to see history being made so we can see a potential triple champ and you going up at middleweight. Very telling, though, he said DDP and not someone like Sean Strickland and not someone like Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah, no, I don't think
I don't think he can go against a Khamzat. I'm sorry.
I think he'd be better suited against Strickland. So, I mean, he probably should have waited for this fight to be finished before he called somebody out. But I don't think he'll do it because if you even look at John Jones, someone who went from light heavyweight to heavyweight, he took 3 years off to properly prepare his body, put on size, and wait for the right opponent. Islam, like, you're not going to go from lightweight to middleweight in a healthy way. Like, if you want to put on healthy weight, good muscle, it takes time. And I don't think he's going to be taking time off either. He's more likely to go up against Bilal, go up against Shavkat. If he's going to go for double champ, it's going to be for the welterweight champion.
Yeah, we've seen people jump divisions and do it successfully. Alex Pereira's done it. Daniel Cormier's done it. Kamaru Usman, as a welterweight champ, pretty much said he would like to skip middleweight and go straight to light heavyweight. So, I mean, we could see history repeat itself.
Yeah,
and you just see Islam jump a division. No, he didn't.
It's very crazy of an idea to do so. Like, you got to be very, very crazy to do it. And Islam, he's not crazy. They do worry about their legacy. He's not going to risk his legacy by jumping up 2 weight classes. He's going to go do the smart thing, maybe fight Justin Gaethje, then go up and face Shavkat or Bilal.
Well, let's get into the UFC Fight Night Saudi Arabia preview. Nick, it's a pretty stacked card. We spoke about it. It's almost better than the UFC Sydney.
It is
okay,
better.
sorry. I will apologize. It is better. Let's start with the first fight that we have that we'll be putting our multi on. Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Oliveira.
Well, we've already seen a Dagestani fight an Oliveira inside the Middle East, and we saw Islam beat Charles Oliveira. And again, while in the Middle East, I'm not going to back against a Dagestani Muslim fighter. I'll take Sayed Nurmagomedov here by decision.
Listen, Oliveira is a big, I think, rangy fighter. I like him, but we've kind of seen Sayed Nurmagomedov. You can't bet against the Nurmagomedov in the Middle East. So I'm going with Sayed here. I think he's just more versatile. He's a bit more experienced, especially over there in the Middle East. So I'm going with Sayed here. Next up, Sergey Pavlovich versus Rozenstruik. Now, Pavlovich gets slept on. I'm sorry, as a heavyweight.
Well, because he got dominated by Volkov, and a lot of people, if you look at Volkov's fight against Rozenstruik, Jairzinho did struggle. Yeah. Whereas Pavlovich, yes, he did struggle as well, but put on a better fight.
He's had some setbacks, Pavlovich, but ultimately I think he's just the classier heavyweight here. He has more punching power. I think he's going to come forward and actually put pressure on Rozenstruik here, which Rozenstruik struggles with. He's usually the one kind of pressuring the pace. It's going to be different when Pavlovich is doing it here. So I'm taking Sergey Pavlovich to win here. And I'm saying he's going to do it by TKO. You'll see my multi on our stories. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe, but I'm taking Pavlovich
There's
here.
nothing better than a couple big boys throwing hands. And this is what this fight's going to be. It's going to finish early, as most heavyweights fight do. But Pavlovich, I do agree he's being overlooked because if you look back to when he was contending for the interim title against Tom Aspinall, people going into that fight said it was pretty even. So if you're going based off that, Tom Aspinall's now the heavyweight GOAT, basically. He's essentially the heavyweight GOAT. If they were pretty even at one point in time, he's a good fighter and we'll get the W here.
Yeah, Pavlovich is going to show why he is one of the top contenders in the UFC heavyweight division. Let's go to the co-main event. Shara the Bullet versus MVP Michael Venom Page. Nick, this I think is the toughest fight to pick out of in a long time. These guys are just out-and-out strikers. MVP, one of the most unique strikers in the UFC. He's been tested here in the UFC, but he's gone up in weight. Shara the Bullet, yes, he has had a lot of success in the Middle East. He only fights out of there. But this guy's an out-and-out striker. Won his last fight with a double spinning back fist. Very unique. We haven't seen him really mix it up and delve into wrestling. So who do you have here? I'm leaning a bit more towards MVP.
I understand that Shara the Bullet isn't your conventional Dagestani wrestler. He's more of a striker, likes to do it his own way. But again, he's still Dagestani. This is still the Middle East. Yep. I'm going to go with Shara the Bullet. MVP is the one taking the risk and taking this fight. And I wouldn't even go as far as saying he's content with losing this fight. He's probably getting paid pretty well to go up in weight and fight Shara the Bullet. And Shara the Bullet is the superstar up and coming. He's the bigger fighter, the easier one to sell in the Middle East. So I'll take Shara the Bullet here.
Listen, if it goes to decision, you know it's going straight to Shara. Although, you know, we know how it goes towards Muslim fighters. MVP is also Muslim, so that does throw a spanner in the works. But in saying that, if Shara, we've seen Shara mix in a little bit of wrestling here and there. If he does mix it up, I think it's an easy win. Not an easy win, but a win for Shara. It's going to be a crazy striking fest. The only reason why I'm edging to MVP more,
he's the better striker. On paper, he's the better striker.
He is so sharp, it's not even funny. He's been tested with Kevin Holland. He got tested against a versatile Ian Gary. So, again, I think if you're talking about experience in the UFC, and if you look at his Bellator fights, MVP is an experienced fighter and someone that Shara the Bullet hasn't gone up against. So I'm taking underdog MVP, but I can understand Shara being likened to be the favorite, especially in the Middle East. And he's going up in weight.
And
you got to think
younger.
it's at middleweight. And MVP's already come out and said, this is a one and done for me. I'm only going up to middleweight one time and I'm coming back down. He has absolutely nothing to lose. He's just going to go out there and put on a show. So anything can happen. Unless he knocks out Shara, I don't see him winning a decision. That's what I'm saying.
I like
it's MVP
like
by KO, but if it goes to decision, I'm taking Shara.
No, I still think this fight won't go the distance. I feel like
three-round fight.
Yeah, I feel like these guys are going head hunting and they're going to try and get the KO and they will get it. One of them will. I'm leaning more towards Shara though.
Israel Adesanya against Nasruddin, the sniper Imavov. This is probably, I will say, Israel Adesanya's biggest test, especially at this point in his career. It's whether you continue to go on and pursue that title or, you know, Imavov becomes a serious contender for the middleweight champion. I just think at this point in his career and the way that Israel Adesanya has been training, he wants to have one more crack at UFC gold and middleweight gold. And I just think he's going to be far too experienced and the better striker on the night. So I'm going with Israel Adesanya.
It's hard here because it's similar to the way I thought Rob Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov was going. Going in to enemy territory, Saudi Arabia, it's going to be very hard. But I mean, if you look at DDP's fight against Adesanya did look good. He may have lost the fight, but early on he did look good. He did look sharp. He looked like he was in the best shape of his life. Going into that DDP fight, he said, "I'm in the best shape of my life."
His gas tank was a bit tested, I think, on the later round.
That was just a bad matchup for him, and he's paraded on about how DDP's the best shit fighter ever.
Yeah,
but
had no answer for
him. I do think that Adesanya, being one of the best, if not the best middleweight of all time, will get the W here. It's hard to pick against him. He's one of the best in the division in its history. So how can Imavov, who's somewhat still unknown, beat this guy? Yes, he's got the,
Imavov, listen, he's a great striker, and I think he can mix it up. But ultimately, I think Bisping said it as well. I just think Izzy, with his experience, is going to be too good. He's going to keep his distance, keep him at range, and just have more significant strikes and win by decision.
Yeah.
I think if Israel Adesanya wins, it's Izzy by decision. And I just think he's just probably going to be too experienced, too good. Izzy wins by decision.
Best bet would be Izzy by decision. Don't overthink it. Imavov might cause the upset, but I would still take Izzy by decision.
Yeah, I don't think Imavov's versus anyone that's Izzy caliber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this is his first fight that's not a title fight since like 2018, 2019. The guy is a perennial champion. He's a prize fighter that does know how to win. So take Izzy Adesanya.
Okay, quick multis for the K. Roos brothers. I'm taking Israel Adesanya to win by decision. I'm taking Shara the Bullet, okay, head-to-head. Even though I said MVP, I might even take Shara the Bullet decision.
Wow.
Okay, Izzy decision, Shara the Bullet decision.
I've turned you.
Saeed Nurmagomedov to win head-to-head. Okay, and I'm taking Sergey Pavlovich head-to-head. They're my four multis. Nick, what are you taking?
I'm taking Shara the Bullet head-to-head. I'm taking Sergey Pavlovich by TKO or KO. I'm taking... what's Sergey? No, what's his name? Nurmagomedov?
Yeah, Saeed
Nurmagomedov head-to-head. And I'll be taking Izzy by decision as well. Very similar multis. But, guys, it's going to be that easy this weekend. Don't overthink it.
Exactly. I mean, we love Matty Betts and the cycle parlay. If you want to just take those guys head-to-head, it's not a bad bet. I would be leaning more towards that. But let's move into WWE. He's heating up. The road to WrestleMania. The Netflix era has begun. The Royal Rumble is around the corner. Nicholas, is this the most stacked Royal Rumble in terms of entrance? The entrants that have already been announced. When you think about it, go through them. John Cena. Roman
Reigns has put his head in there. CM Punk. Seth Rollins.
Jey Uso.
Yeet Uso. Drew McIntyre. Sami Zayn. Chad Gable. Logan Paul's going to be there.
Rey Mysterio. Bron Breakker, who could be a potential winner as well.
And that's not even putting it. Like, there might be some surprise entrances. You don't even know. Usually the Rumble is good for a surprise or two. You never know. Dean Ambrose, Edge. I don't know.
I think
with names out there.
This is the most stacked any current roster Royal Rumble has been. And there's whispers, you might even see a Brock Lesnar make a surprise appearance. Who knows what could happen? Because I know Paul Heyman owes CM Punk a favor. Could that be the favor?
Hey, the Vince McMahon suit has been sorted out. Allegedly.
With this Royal Rumble being very stacked, with Roman Reigns being in there, CM Punk, John Cena, what is your prediction for the Royal Rumble?
Look, the smart money is on CM Punk.
Yeah.
There's been a big build-up about how he's never main evented WrestleMania. Paul Heyman owes him a favor. He's talking like he's going to be the one that's going to get it done. But personally, I think like storyline-wise, I know he doesn't need it. I want John Cena to win.
Okay.
I feel like it's just fitting if he can go out, win the Royal Rumble, win the title, win the 17. It just, like, I get he doesn't need it, but for the pay-per-view, for like to look on back in history, John Cena in his last Royal Rumble got the job done.
Well, there's just so many storylines going into this, and I feel like we need to touch on him. Sami Zayn, is he with Kevin Owens? Is he aligned with Seth Rollins? Who's his actual friends right now? Can he win the Royal Rumble and main event WrestleMania? I don't think so. CM Punk got beef with Drew McIntyre, got beef with CM Punk. Everyone wants to.
Hey, he's got beef with Cody Rhodes now as well.
He's got beef with Roman Reigns. Everyone wants to throw CM Punk over. He's adamant that he will throw anyone and everyone over the top rope in the Royal Rumble and go and main event WrestleMania. But ultimately, you can't discount the Tribal Chief. Every storyline in WWE right now revolves around Roman Reigns and the island of relevancy that is Roman Reigns and the Tribal Chief. I think Roman Reigns is a clear favorite for the Royal Rumble because he has to be around the main event scene right now.
There was a stat that I saw that Roman Reigns, I think, is up there with the most eliminations ever. And every single Royal Rumble that he's been in, he's been a part of the last three people that's been in the ring.
He's definitely going into the Final Four. Imagine the Final Four of John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. Something like that would be absolutely crazy. I don't know who wins, but favorites for me, it's Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk. If I had to pick one, it's CM Punk.
CM Punk makes the most sense. Like the whole storyline of him coming back, wanting to main event WrestleMania. But again, he's a name that doesn't need it. I would actually.
John Cena doesn't need it either.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like if we're gonna go with someone that kind of needs that escalation to their character, Drew McIntyre or Bron Breakker, like give me a surprise, someone that deserves it, been putting in the hard yards, working full time, cutting great promos. Drew McIntyre deserves a win.
Okay, but there's also Logan Paul in the Royal Rumble. Now, Logan Paul will eventually be a WWE champion. I'm not saying he's going to win the Royal Rumble, but now with streamers like Kai Cenat and Speed saying they're going to be at the Royal Rumble, they're going to be streaming in the Royal Rumble. Are we going to see the first streamer enter a Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
Do you think Speed's going to be in the Royal Rumble?
Speed's coming out. He's doing a backflip
Now,
spot,
tell me,
1,000%.
Who the hell is going to eliminate Speed? How can you? The guy's a freak athlete, right?
Hey, actually, Randy Orton's RKO'd him.
Yeah, on the table outside. You're telling, if someone has to tell Speed, you can't go over the top rope, he's going to make a challenge out of it. No one's going to get him out.
Yeah.
I'm surprised if he doesn't go off script and say, no one's eliminating me.
I agree with that, but Triple H has got him in line.
Okay, Speed versus Kai Cenat. They did tease that they might see each other at the Rumble, and who knows, are they going to throw hands at each other or not? Are they both going to be entrants in the Royal Rumble? Who wins there? Speed versus Kai Cenat. Who is the superior athlete? Who is the better WWE superstar?
Well, just based off size, speed, athleticism, Speed's a bit better.
Yeah, I'm
bigger
taking
athlete.
Speed
I'm
every
taking
day
Speed
of the
any day of the week.
Kai, I think he's about 5'6" on a good day. He's the same height as Kevin Hart. Speed is an unbelievable athlete. This guy went for the backflipping world record. This guy is beating sprinters that are,
He's competing with Noah Lyles.
He's competing with Noah Lyles. He's going to the EPL and beating some of the fastest football players. This guy is a freak athlete. If you're telling me who is more likely to go over the top rope in the Royal Rumble, it's Kai Cenat. Kai Cenat would be getting eliminated
And
by
mind
Speed.
you, like Speed's doing all this athletic work in Wave Runners.
What's
like,
Kai Cenat? Kai Cenat's sitting on his bloody gaming chair in front of his streaming setup. I don't
levels
think
to
he's
this.
ready for the WWE.
I don't think Kai Cenat will be an entrant, but I do think Speed will be an entrant.
Okay.
But we did forget to bring up someone. Randy Orton. Is he
Yeah.
going to be in the Rumble?
I think he is. I think AJ Styles comes back and he's in the Rumble. I think Randy Orton comes back. He's had a lot of time off since taking that pile driver, very scary pile driver from Kevin Owens, put him on the shelf for a while. His neck could have very well be broken.
I thought it did break. That's how he's been out for this long,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe he's just been kept on the wraps because they're trying to bring him back at the Rumble.
It's going to be a very stacked Rumble. I make sure you're tuning in February 1st, Royal Rumble. It's the road to WrestleMania. It is heating up. Nick, we're both going with CM Punk. I can't wait to see who are the surprise entrants. It's going to be great. Make sure you tune in. Also, as a reminder, make sure you subscribe to @KRusBros on YouTube. Staying tuned to the clips @JohnBernardK on Instagram and TikTok. We thank you. Make sure you subscribe. Back to you in the studio, Ryan.